Hi, my name is Dorothy Walker. I am the site director for the Freedom Rides Museum in Montgomery, Alabama, which is a historic site operated by the Alabama Historical Commission. The Alabama Historical Commission is the State Historic Preservation Office. We are the department of the state that helps to preserve places where history occurred in our state. And we are excited to be a part of the project to help document, promote, interpret the history of the St. Clair County Training School. These kinds of projects are so significant in interpreting Alabama's history. They tell a complete story of the advances in education in the state, particularly in African American communities. It talks about the struggle, the challenges for African Americans to get quality education during segregation. And so our office has been delighted and honored to be a part of this project, to be supportive of this project. We are looking forward to all of the wonderful things that'll come from this project, the history, the documentation, the research, and because this is important, it's an important thing to create a legacy for our children about how our communities evolved, where they came from, how they got developed, the sacrifices and the challenges that we faced to try to make sure that we had these institutions in our communities. And so it's exciting to be a part of a project that is taking that history forward, is bringing new life to this site, and making sure that the generations to come are aware of how significant a place this place has been in Alabama's history. St. Clair County Training School is just one of a network of these kinds of school buildings that were built across the state through some efforts by people like Dr. Booker T. Washington. There were also schools that were built by, in conjunction with Dr. Washington and Julius Rosenwald, that were Rosenwald schools. And whether or not this is one of those school buildings, it still falls within that same legacy of, as Dr. Washington would say, is lifting ourselves up through our own contributions, our own commitment to education. And so we hope that we are able to be a part of and support and participate in all that you guys are doing for this project. We certainly lend any assistance we can toward helping to preserve and promote and interpret this site, because we feel like it's so important, not just to talking about the history related to Black education during the Rosenwald School period, but also during the period afterwards. A lot of times we talk a lot about Rosenwald schools, and they are important and significant institutions to talk about. However, we don't always pivot to talking about the educational institutions that came after Rosenwald. Those schools that were built in the state roughly between 1950 and 1970 that were operated during that period where Alabama was operating a dual school system to maintain segregation. And we call these buildings equalization schools. And so I hope that the efforts that the St. Clair County Training School Reunion Group is putting forward will help to bring more awareness to these kinds of school buildings that were operated during that period, because these were significant institutions in our community. They helped to further education of people who went on to do great things in our communities, in our state, across the country. Those contributions need to be honored. They need to be promoted. Children need to know that the history from whence they came. And so we are delighted, honored to be a part of this. We hope that this is a successful project, a successful reunion. We wish you all the best, all the success. And please know that the Alabama Historical Commission, the State Historic Preservation Office, will do everything it can to help and support this project. Thank you so much. In the 1990s, the Alabama Historical Commission worked with the Black Heritage Council of the Alabama Historical Commission, and the Black Heritage Council is an advisory council to the Alabama Historical Commission on the preservation of African American historic places across the state. We also worked with Cahaba Trace Commission, other organizations across the state to put together, at that time there wasn't a lot of information known about Rosenwald schools, what they were, how many Alabama had, and all of that. So we put together a traveling display about the history of Rosenwald schools, and we're excited that it's going to be traveling to St. Clair County to be a part of this event, because it's an exciting history, a lot of history that people don't know about. And between 1912 and 1932, Dr. Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald teamed up to build school buildings for African Americans in the South, and their collaboration produced more than 5,000 school buildings in 15 southern states. It was a tremendous amount of effort to accomplish in a mere short 20 years. And we in Alabama had more than 389 of these buildings, not just school buildings, but also teacher homes, shop buildings. And so the goal is to try to document as many of those buildings as we can that are still remaining, but also hopefully document the sites where the schools have, even if they're no longer there, where they once stood. So that's the effort to promote this exhibit was a part of that. That process, so that we can send it to communities and people can look at the display, hopefully find, and that will help prompt them to give us information about these school buildings.
Good.
DOROTHYWALKER.